Go this time.
Take three, guys.
Take three. We're not getting the cold open because we're gonna get there. It's been a minute since we recorded though.
It's true. You know what, guys, though? I liked our little like intro that we did was really just kind of about us. We're driving. Hi guys, we're driving.
Hello again.
Which makes it a little bit more challenging, I think, for us to like super focus and make sure the recording's going smoothly and
making sure my mic is turned on
and making sure my jacket's not blocking my mic. So hi guys.
Hi. Welcome back to Are We Still Recording? A podcast about a podcast. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Jordan.
And we're going to get it right this time.
You know what? We're going to do something this time.
Something's going to happen.
We're going to do something.
You will be auditorily entertained.
Yeah. So guys, we this is our third attempt to make this video because the first time we did it, it was spicy, it was good, it was content, it was really real and in the moment, and our mics died because I guess I have higher expectation for cheap $20 mics, and you know what? That's really on me. But at the same time, we're learning. And so now I know I need to charge them more regularly. Mm-hmm. And we just tried to record again, and my jacket like flipped over so that you couldn't actually see my mic and probably couldn't hear it at all.
And mine wasn't even turned on. So it's okay. We're getting back into it. We got to find the groove again. It's going to take us a second. I mean, but like, again, you guys just got your first video back. So like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're all starting fresh.
I hope you guys got to watch the video.
Did you miss our faces?
Because you know what, guys? We missed you watching them. How are you guys doing?
Welcome to spring. Happy spring.
Yeah, it's spring, guys.
Are you planting a garden? Do you like gardening?
Yeah, what are you guys doing?
What do you guys grow? Do you guys like herbs? Do you guys like vegetables? I've never been like a flower gardening person myself.
Oh, I like gardening with flowers.
Flowers just like they really intimidate me.
Really?
They do. Because it's like I can like keep
the opposite of intimidating. They're like beautiful and
they're
happy.
Very beautiful, but in that same vein, they're very fragile.
Sure.
And it's like I like herbs because they tell me when they need something. You know?
Sure.
Like I can see like, oh, my peppermint's a little bit yellow in a couple places. You need a little bit more water. You might need a little bit more love. You might need a little bit more sunlight.
Sure.
Aloe vera, easy. It looks a little bit yellow. Take it out of the sun. Looks a little bit red. Put it back. No, wait, that's reversed. If it's getting like a little bit red, it's getting a little sunburn. So you pull it out of the sun. If it gets a little yellow, you put it back in the sun.
That's cute.
Aloe is great. I've had an aloe plant since Caleb and I got together.
Wow.
So, and like we are like the original plant has died, but they make babies.
Oh.
So like aloe plants will have pups, and you just pull the pups out, and then that's what they're called, and you just plant the pups.
Cool.
So you have a bunch of aloe plants.
Well, that's adorable.
So I'm on like the original aloe plants like great grandson.
We for a few Christmases ago, Chris got me seeds for Japanese maple.
Ooh.
And like you have to cold stratify it first, but then when you take it out for like it's like 20 to 30 days is what the little kit says. And then after the 20-30 days, then you have to put it in like a warm windowsill, and it's like the soil needs to get pretty warm, like close to like 80 degrees. And I looked at it like a month or two ago, and I was like, nah, we're not there yet. But now I think we're gonna be there. I mean, like it's not 80 degrees yet; it's 58 degrees right now. But in a windowsill, it absolutely will be, especially in a month from now.
Japanese maples are also very cat-like, apparently.
What's that mean?
Put it in a warm windowsill.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm excited for that. I don't know. It gave us several seeds, so I don't know if we're gonna get like multiple plants. That would be really cool. But that's gonna be my like baby project, I think, for the next little bit, because it's gonna take years until it can be planted like outside.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least years until it can go outside of a pot.
Do you think you'll ever have syrup?
I don't think so.
Okay. That'd be pretty neat.
Because that's like, I mean,
they've got to be pretty hefty to produce, like, and it's like, I don't think that you can make syrup, and like correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you can make syrup out of like silver maple sap. Like I think it has to be specifically sugar maple sap.
I mean, that makes sense.
Because they're sugar maples.
Sure.
So.
I mean, that makes sense, but I don't know. That's not my intention.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, they take a long time to grow, so it's going to be like 25 plus years until we have like even a small tree. So like, I don't even think in my lifetime it's going to be a very big tree, but I'm gonna try.
We'll get there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're up to, guys. Let us know what you're playing and excited for, or gardening, and what you've gotten done and you're excited and proud of, because I like it and I want to hear about it.
Let's share some positivity. Let's get that going.
Yeah.
And you know, similarly to this maple tree story, Jordan is growing a maple tree of which shade she may never sit. Similarly to all of the Hy-Vee characters that we are currently playing. We are creating shade in which we more than likely will never sit.
No, yeah.
But so that's where we're kind of at. That's where we started. Are we? Yep, we are still recording.
We were double checking, guys, and we are still recording.
That's actually the name of the podcast. Like, are we still good?
The most like intentional intro title ever.
Are you sure?
I don't even know if we introduced ourselves on this part. I think we did.
I think I did.
I think you did. Anyway, guys, so we're reviewing again. The first time you guys have gotten a video in a while, and I'm excited for that for you guys.
Oh yeah.
It was an interesting one for us because we're taking a break from our main campaign. Is our third campaign, so our C3 characters are being sidelined for a little bit because we are going instead to be playing out the distraction that is being provided for our C3 characters. So
and like they're not being. I mean, they're being sidelined, but when in all reality, the entire time all of this is happening, they are going on an incredibly dangerous stealth mission.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, so we're playing our high-level characters now. We have the option of playing our C1 or C2 and or our C2 characters. The only two people that have multiple characters are Bill and Chris, and they are playing both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's only one character who's not joining us for this, and that's because Matthew did not want Rundar to die. He feels as though, which is reasonable, he feels as though we came up with like story endings for everyone at the end of C1. Well, actually at the end of C2, we did story endings for everyone from C1 and C2. So bringing them back out is kind of like, only if you're okay with that ending being changed.
Yeah.
So Matthew decided that Rundar has earned his retirement,
his
keep, and so he is instead going to be guiding C3. So Rundar is we're all level 20. Everyone's level 20.
Yeah, we are.
Rundar is a level 20 arcane trickster, rogue. And his dragon is a black dragon, and they are very good at intel and stealth and sneaking. So instead of being in the fight, they're basically helping infiltrate and extract C3 from their mission.
Mm-hmm. So, we've got help, and thank goodness for that.
Yes,
like
truly.
Any help C3 can get, I think, is going to be entirely necessary.
Yes.
Because that's a whole other beast. We don't even know because I feel like usually at this point in a campaign, like you usually have a pretty good idea about what the final fight is going to be, you know?
Oh my god, yes.
And not a clue. We don't know.
Not a clue for C3. Not a clue.
In the dark, feeling around, but like there will be a fight. We just don't know what but maybe there won't. We actively have no clue.
No, I do think that there will be a fight, but we know we're going in to like try to dismantle this
machine.
And I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be defenders of the machine that we're going to have to fight or sneak by or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, depending on how much time depending on how long C1 and C2 Hyves can distract outside, will determine how much time C3 has to complete their mission. At least with less difficulty.
And full disclosure, you will be getting the episode eventually, but we're recording a little bit late this time. So we've already kind of started our first distraction fight. And
no spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
We've already started. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. So this session that you guys are basically seeing is our reintroduction to C1 and C2. Almost everyone has known each other. Again, Matthew did make a new character. So we kind of said that character, we're meeting at the Sanctuary of Bahamut, which is a made-up place that our characters made at the end of the campaign. And so we're basically saying that his character is there, so they already know each other. But yeah, so welcomed everyone to the Sanctuary of Bahamut. Bahamut and Cord were there for basically the prime representation. And so we got to meet everyone. So the players are, my character is Jazz. She is a level 18 Draconic Sorcerer. She's a human, and 2 levels in Cleric, to kind of round her out there. She's the one that we joke is like Jazz Tuma, and she's like champion of Bahamut, like Bahamut's right hand.
She's
lady.
Dragon Jesus. If I could be so bold.
I mean, she is the uniter of dragons. Her whole purpose is to unite chromatic and metallic dragons behind a force of good instead of pitting them against each other. And instead of pitting like humankind against dragons, kind of just setting up their own, really they did a lot of things, but basically setting up their own like foot and making them an important figure instead of just something to be feared. So that's kind of the whole Jazz's whole shtick.
Absolutely. And then I'm coming in with Cygnus. Cygnus is my Twilight Cleric. So I've got 16 levels in Cleric and 4 levels in Way of the Astral Self Monk. So I get those extra arms for extra heals and extra reach. And also some pretty sweet little key point abilities so I can get out of the way very quickly. Cygnus is, not similar to Jazz, but like going into the same amount of detail. Is one of the founding members of the Twilight's Accord. And this was kind of Cygnus and Victor's post-campaign, what they did after campaign 2. And the purpose of the Accord in its nascence when it was starting out was supposed to be, our thing was, we will push back against tyranny from demagogues, devils, and the divine. So anything, like, there is good to be had from, like, certain leadership and certain leading bodies, but there can also be tyranny that comes from those things. And if, like, people are using power, or devils or the divine are using power in a way that is unhealthy for the people that it is being used on, they are there to kind of push that out and give the people and humanity a place to grow stronger without those constraints. And it's just kind of grown into kind of a continent spanning movement, for lack of a better term, of pushing back against tyranny and really encouraging humanity and humanity's strength in and of itself. So humanity is being called to fight for itself. So that's what, and yeah.
And with Cygnus's Victor, I don't know his level breakdown, but he is a paladin and a warlock. So I don't know his breakdown in that. He's mostly paladin. He is part of the Twilight's Accord. The other half of the SOB is Elderon. He's level 20 all ranger. I think we said he was hunter. I think he's a hunter.
That feels right.
And then also Calcidius is one of Chris's characters, and he is also a level 20 hunter or ranger, and I'm pretty sure he's also hunter.
Yeah.
His other character is 20 levels, is Deegan, 20 levels of Circle of the Wildfire Druid.
Which is objectively one of the coolest druid classes.
Yeah. It is one of the coolest druid classes. I agree with that.
Is that all of them?
No.
Okay.
Mads.
Mads.
And Matthew's new character.
And Baru.
So Mads first, because he's the last of the originals.
Yes.
So Mads is Circle of the Moon Druid, all 20 levels.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 druids that can endlessly wild shape now.
Which is great news.
It is great news. Now, Mads can endlessly bonus action wild shape, action, do an attack, which is great.
Because
we'll come back to that.
We're gonna stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned on how that works out. So yeah, stay tuned for how that works. And then our new character, so Matthew made Baru, who's a level 20 monk. I think he is a halfling, and he's way of the Ascendant Dragon.
Yes.
What did you say he was from?
It's for Fizban's Treasury of Dragons.
So, don't know much about that because it is it's not homebrew. It's not Unearthed. Is that technically Unearthed Arcana?
Maybe it's not mainline PHB.
Yeah.
Like Fizban's is one of those that is Tasha's is an extra source book. Mm-hmm. Fizban's is an extra source book.
Yeah.
That is 1 degree off.
Yeah. So very cool though. Very fitting with him being at the Sanctuary of Bahamut. So that works out super well. And so that's our group. And so we kind of got a little reintroduction, a little intro. There was a moment at the beginning where Cygnus and Victor talked to Deegan.
Yes. It was I don't think we talked at the very beginning, but there were nods.
Yeah, there were nods
of I see you. Hey.
We haven't done our C2 wrap up lore yet, but Deegan, Cygnus, and Victor are the only living characters from our second campaign. And Deegan and Cygnus and Victor went on very different paths and basically did not speak to each other, did not seek each other out for the last
100 years.
Yeah, I always said that Jazz would have tried reaching out. But she died 40 years ago, so there was really no one making any effort for the last 40 years. But that's another episode. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we kind of all gathered around. Jazz welcomed everyone into her house, and kind of just had a meeting. So I actually don't know how many of us there are. Jazz, Mads, Victor, Cygnus, Cal, Deegan, Baru. 8 of us?
That feels
dragons?
Right. That feels right, yeah.
So there's 8 of us that are basically, and I guess Rundar was technically there as well because he's agreed to help with the mission. He's just not part of the distraction. And so we basically went over the plan.
Oh, that makes me sad.
What?
For the next episode, I'm just gonna hold that thought. That hit me real deep sad.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went over the plan, which basically it's the Hybees, which are our C1 and C2 characters, are a distraction. So that distraction, like we said, depending on how long of a distraction it is, which we are not entirely sure if it is amount of time that we are distracting them, like number of rounds, or if it's number of betrayer gods that we take out. Yeah. But we're basically trying to create a distraction so that C3 can go in the back door and basically
do something.
Do things to stuff.
we're gonna
That's what we're doing.
enter it in the back door to do things to stuff.
It's true.
That's one of those phrasing moments where I actually did catch it.
Yep. We're
Yep.
just gonna leave it up there. You're
Mhm.
welcome, everyone. So we, again, there's been some development since this, but I'm gonna give you our insight as of that day. So we sat down, we discussed the plan. We know that outside of Gordranus, the first line of defense for the Betrayer Gods is the Crawling King. Yucky guy. Basically, big worm man, lots of arms, lots of mouths, lots of drooling and laughing and psychic disgustingness.
Gross.
And we found out, we asked Cord and Bahamut, since, they're his brothers, if they had any insight on what we could look for. And basically we found out that battle-wise, he's not susceptible to any sort of conditions or diseases. He does not take any psychic damage, and he's not really vulnerable. Not vulnerable? Yeah, he's not vulnerable to any types of damage. So basically, we just gotta hit him pretty hard and hope that he gets distracted enough.
We have to punch him to death if we can.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's what. Yeah, and we're gonna do our best.
Doing our best.
Gonna give it the old college try to punch a god to death in true D&D fashion.
Yeah. So then we did have some questions.
Yes.
Jordan had a lot of questions. So had a few questions to kind of figure out what's going to happen. We know that C3 is trying to put the divine gate back up, but instead of making it a divine gate, we're trying to basically make it a divine wall or a divine fence. We don't want the gods to be able to come back to Exandria anytime soon. We want them to be stuck behind this. We want them to basically just stop messing around with Exandria and give Exandria a little bit more autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but what happens, because our goal right now is to try to kill the gods. If we kill the gods, which, first note, we've never really been able to kill a god before. If they quote-unquote die, then they go back to their plane and basically just recover there.
We just send them back to their respawn point.
Exactly. So the question is, if they die, are we just sending them back, and then once the divine wall goes up, great, they're just behind it? What happens if they stay here? If we don't kill them and they stay here, do they get weakened and truly die because they can't get
They're
power?
not pulling from that source of energy anymore. They're not getting,
Right. Or are they instead just going to be stuck on the material plane forever?
But then again,
Uh-huh.
Now that I've sat with that for a second,
Uh-huh.
that would suck for a long time.
Yep.
That wouldn't suck forever.
We don't know that, though. Give me your logic, because
If they're cut off from that source of power,
Sure.
assumedly,
Sure.
they can't get back to their respawn point.
Sure.
I am assuming that is the only place that they can respawn. They can't just reform on Exandria. They have to go back so that they can respawn.
That's a good point.
So, with enough time, if the peoples of Exandria can survive, and say we take out 3 betrayer gods, and we're left with 6?
Yeah.
Not preferable, but, that's what's good. Okay. I see what's just a little bit of light theory crafting.
Yeah. That's what we're here for.
There's no way we can take out all 9.
Nope.
And putting them, there has to be a way to put them behind the divine wall, right?
You would hope they would get shunted back there once the divine wall goes up.
That's the hope.
Unless they're so weakened that they don't. I don't know.
They just fizzle? Or is it then left to those of us left alive to finish the job?
That's a great question.
And send them back from whence they came?
That's a great question.
Okay.
So then what do we do as the high bees trying to fight these? Do we keep them weak to keep them here, or do we try to kill them?
Kill as many as possible.
Okay.
Because if they're assumedly just going to go back to that respawn point anyway, and I'm not saying that we are the only creatures, beings on Exandria that could do this, that
Sure.
would be capable of doing this.
Sure.
But we are all level 20.
Yep.
So if anybody's going to have a shot, we do.
Yep.
So I think that to save the rest of whatever characters we make for the next few campaigns from having to deal with that, we get rid of as many as possible.
I think that's fair. So that was kind of the debate we had, because we asked, when they said like kill gods, we asked like, do they have a weapon? Like, do the betrayers have a weapon that we need to know about? Like, what is going to happen to the primes if they get quote unquote killed? And they said that they would go back to Mount Celestia to just
Hang out.
farm. So
Coalesce.
it's not the end of the world if they get killed.
I mean, it is the end of the world, but
Well, no, it's just a bad
the
time.
calamity.
It's just a bad time.
It's just a bad time.
It's just a bad
I'm getting
time.
that
The darkest timeline.
So for my C3 tattoo, it's going to say, it's not the end of the world, it's just a bad time.
It's just a bad
Because that's got legs to it.
time. That's it. It's not the end of the world. It's just really not.
It's just a bad time.
It's just a little calamity. It's alright.
It's fine.
So that was kind of the first thing, was trying to figure out what in the heck is going to happen if this divine wall goes up. And quite honestly, we just don't know. And like also like meta, we want the Great Calamity to last for an amount of time. It's not going to last for just this 1 year. We're not going to fix it.
No.
But we're hoping to kind of push it in the right
Put
direction.
a little band-aid on it.
So I don't know, because we want the Great Calamity to last a bit longer, because that's where we want our C4
That'd be kind
to
of cool.
be. So we don't really know yet what that means, and I don't think we're going to know what that means until we look at the situation and say, "Oh, that makes sense." And
Okay.
So
This is where we're at.
that was kind of the first part.
Mm-hmm.
What's next in the notes? I believe it's then Bahamut asked Khonshu if he would help. Hatchuma asked Khonshu.
Yes. Yep. Oh my god, where did you write that?
So I have this, so then it's this.
May not get this chance again.
Oh, yeah.
And then it says Crawling King and all of his god powers.
Yep.
And then we get orbs. We all got
Yeah.
cool pearls of power that will
Yeah.
give us 1 turn's worth of godly power.
Correct.
And then we will die
Correct.
with no chance of resurrection.
Correct.
So I've been in the back of my mind, it's like, how, when the end does come,
Yep. How do you want it to go?
what am I doing with
Yep.
my pearl of power?
Yep.
Because it's like, is it just going to be like 6 wish spells in a row?
Maybe.
Because
Maybe.
I can. I wish that the betrayers were all gone.
Yeah.
Boom. I fixed it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's supposed to do that, but
I know.
maybe one.
Maybe we could start like, there's 8 of us and 9 betrayers.
Maybe one injured one.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. Anyway. So yeah, we've each got a pearl. We've got this pearl of power now, which is the same thing that C3 got.
Oh my.
Yikers.
Oh boy.
So that'll be interesting. So we basically have to figure out what we want to do with that, and when we want to use that, if we get to use that, because if we use it, we're not getting resurrected.
I'm sorry, guys.
Ooh.
I've got the sleepies real bad.
Yeah, we do have the sleepies today.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. There will be no resurrection. And I brought up this point earlier. So Raj, earlier in this campaign, has had a vision of this fight.
Yes.
And in that fight, he saw multiple of us going down repeatedly, but then were raised and kept fighting.
Correct.
So the question there being is, does the Pearl of Power negate that as well?
That's a great question.
Because I would assume yes. Because if it said no resurrection, that means no resurrection. Like, you're out of the fight, you're done.
Sure.
You get to pop off one time.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's a great question, because we'll have to review the play on that one. But yeah. What was next?
And then Haptuma asked Khonshu for help.
Yeah, so Haptuma, aka Bahamut, reached out to Victor because Khonshu wasn't there.
I think Kanji was busy talking to someone else or something like that. Like he was just like off in a corner, and Heptuma approached Victor. I don't remember exactly how it went.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But basically just asked if he was going to help, and I think Victor said something like, "Of course he is. We made this pact from the beginning."
Like it's a partnership. Like whatever if I'm going, he's going, and I'm not leaving.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then this is where we kind of had a little bit of a hard time because we haven't played these characters in a while.
Yeah.
We had a hard time remembering all the stuff we could do to prepare for battle.
But we did get a hero's feast.
We did get a hero's feast. Thankfully, Bill remembered that. So we got a hero's feast. The Twilight's Accord was kind enough to bring clerics to cast Death Ward on all of us. So everyone got a Death Ward, but we didn't have to waste our spells for it. The other thing I do want to talk about is Cygnus's response to the gods.
Yes.
So Cygnus got a little spicy.
Cygnus did get a little spicy. That is correct.
So there were a few questions that we talked about in the first time we recorded this when it didn't go through. So first kind of question is Cygnus concerned that with her being spiteful to the primes, specifically the RQ, is she worried that now that resurrection magic may not work, because we don't know, the other kind of thing is we don't know if when the gods are behind the divine wall, we don't know how much divine magic's going to make it through. So what is Cygnus's feelings on that? And then we'll kind of move on from there.
So, like, that's a toughie. And that is one that since we lost the first recording, like, I have tried to think about. Because, like, frankly, in the moment, like, I didn't, like, in the session, like, it was that moment of realization of, like, oh, you're all trying to leave.
Yes.
And, like, what are the ramifications of that, and what does that look like?
Right.
And, like, full stop, that was me reacting on the fly.
Sure.
And that was also Cygnus reacting on the fly.
Sure.
Because, like, that was a revelation in that moment.
Yeah.
And your first reaction is not always your best reaction.
Sure.
But, that being said, like, that is a concern for the Twilight's Accord moving forward, be it with or without Victor and Cygnus.
Because if I'm not mistaken, because druids can get reincarnate.
Yes.
So that doesn't necessarily have to be, I mean, I guess druids are technically divine magic, but not the same.
Not the same kind, yeah.
So I think that could still work, but there's not going to be any resurrection.
Exactly.
There's not going to be any there's be a reincarnation, but there's not going to be, what is it with the Luxon?
So like the consecution to the Luxon, and then the reincarnation via the Luxon.
Sure. Yep. That
and
may no longer exist.
That's kind of been taken off the table, and like there's that small part of me that hopes that since Galileo is within range, technically right now, just as a that is such a small hope. But it's not even we pop up; we're just born again in a different body years down the line. Cool.
But not particularly helpful in this exact moment.
Not helpful for us right now.
Yeah.
But that is again a very small hope, and it's a very far-fetched hope. I don't expect that to actually be what happens. But like the thought has did needle in the back of my head. It's like good, but probably not. But circling back around, so the Twilight's Accord's whole thing with resurrection is like they believe in giving the people of Exandria a full lifespan. Whatever the people of Exandria believe that to be.
Sure.
And at any point in time, if they no longer wish to be resurrected, they are free to go.
Yep.
And that's on them. And that's how we have been functioning up until this point. And now we've been offered this, not offered, but this new plan and this new deal is being set before us. And Cygnus does not have time to plan for that. And Cygnus can't go back and be like, okay guys, new plan. We can't do this anymore. Right. Like, it has, like, the whole purpose was to allow them to live out a full life, whatever that full life looked like to them. And this is, like, removing that ability would be potentially difficult to circumvent. But I think at that point, like, if it was no longer an option, I think that the Accord is still strong enough, like, as a group, that it wouldn't be about that anymore, and they could very easily, like, that could fall into a time of legend.
Sure.
When there were heroes that, like, unstoppable heroes that just kept coming back. But now we are just a group that believes in humanity and fights for the strength of humanity and fights for the right to live a full life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I talked a lot.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I think that you answered the question. I don't think that Cygnus, again, our first reaction, like you said, is not always our best reaction. So then the next kind of question is Cygnus worried because she's been spiting and spitting in the face of the Raven Queen for 100 years, just for the opportunity, not just for, but for the opportunity to live her life to its fullest? Is she worried that when she dies, the Raven Queen's not actually going to accept her soul?
So I've always had this theory, and again, I am not the master storyteller. I'm not the DM, so it's not. I don't get to decide how the story ends, right? But the way I had written it at the end of campaign 2, in my head, was when Cygnus came to Exandria, she was a coalescence, like an accidental coalescence of a bunch of celestial energies. Like, she was not specifically made. Like, she was not created purposefully.
Okay.
She just kind of was this, like, a bunch of different energies knocked off of each other, and suddenly, there is a Cygnus. And I kind of thought at the end of campaign 2 that when she eventually did perish, it would just be the opposite of that.
Sure.
And she would just, like, no afterlife.
So you don't think that Cygnus has a soul?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that she, at this point in time, is a soul, but maybe purely coincidentally.
Okay.
And because it is being housed in a thing, you know? And when the thing that is housing it is no longer there, it will just scatter back into the pieces that it came from.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was how I wrote it at the end of campaign 2. But again, now we're here.
Sure.
And things are different.
Sure.
So, and like, I don't know what Amanda's gonna do. But, and listen,
I'll be super interested to see, because
if he kicks my ass, he kicks my ass, and I deserve it. And that's plain and simple.
Because, I mean, when Cygnus died the first time, the Raven Queen wasn't willing to give up her soul.
Exactly.
So she did have one, at least at that point.
That's true, but she was also wearing the Raven Queen's armor at the time. So I was thinking maybe that was like a tether.
Maybe. Okay.
Listen, you can't see it. It's a lot of shrugging right now.
There is a lot of shrugging right now.
But I do really like the idea of her kind of just going back to the universe. That's cool.
Yeah. Just re-becoming nothing.
Yeah.
Like, she came from nothing and will return to nothing. And that's kind of how I've been coming at it, you know? Is because that would make the most sense to me.
Sure.
I guess.
So then it's easy enough then for Cygnus to kind of not really care what happens to her soul. But what about the other followers of the Twilight's Accord? Is she worried about their souls that now that again, like, the intention of the Twilight's Accord is to let them live out a long life, but then presumably the Raven Queen will still have to carry their souls or shepherd them across. Cygnus has said some very strong worded things about the Raven Queen.
I have called her a bird-boned bitch.
Several times.
Yes, I have.
So, I mean, how spiteful are you worried about the Raven Queen being? Especially now if, like, not being particularly kind to the primes when we're all here to potentially do the same thing. Is she worried that the Raven Queen's gonna be like, not helping you guys?
And, like, I think that she would be well within her rights if she didn't. But to say for the rest of the Accord, I think that Cygnus's beef was very personal.
Sure.
And that is not something that she kind of, like, spoke over the Accord.
Sure.
It's like, I'm not expecting you guys to have a beef.
Sure.
And, like, I think that was for her and for her only. And, like, as far as the rest of the following knows, we are there to fight back against tyranny.
Sure.
And whatever that looks like, the seed that planted in Cygnus is not the seed that she wanted to plant in her followers.
Sure.
Because I don't think that Cygnus would have even talked about her beef with the Raven Queen.
Sure.
Outside of the war room specifically. But if the Raven Queen then metes out justice on the rest of the Accord,
right,
because Cygnus acted in that way.
Right. That's my question.
So, like, I mean,
it's not like Cygnus would have done it intentionally, but is the Raven Queen like, you didn't want anything to do with me? You didn't want... Like, why would I help your followers? They believe in you and you believed in this, so why would I help them?
Exactly. And, like, that's a really interesting point. And, like, so that's, you know, the burden of leadership, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are no longer your own person. You no longer... It's been said more eloquently than I'm saying it currently, but, like, you are the leader of your people, and you are no longer your own thing, and you have to put the good of the people you are leading in front of the good of yourself.
Right.
And I think that Cygnus did her best to keep it within herself.
Sure.
If the Raven Queen does that, would she be out of line anyway? No, I don't think she would. But would that reinforce that belief? I mean, Cygnus, assumedly, is already nothing. So...
What do you mean she's nothing?
As, like, when that happens, we will have assumedly passed on.
Sure.
So it's not like it's going to reinforce her belief in that after she's passed on.
Sure.
But if she were, that would be like oh, I see. So now you're also vindictive. Which, like, cool. I get it. Like, I really appreciate how Mance plays the Raven Queen. Because, like, gives her a lot of depth. Gives her because, like, she, like, a porcelain mask can be very one note in and of itself, but he has given her a lot of depth, and I'm interested to see where that depth goes.
Yeah. And, like,
my beef with the Raven Queen is something that, like, me, Lindsay, personally, like, is a funny joke to me, but do not misconstrue me. I love the Raven Queen in all of our campaigns. But in, like, a love-hate way.
Sure.
Because it's like, I love to hate you. I love to be, like...
I mean, that's the nature of the Raven Queen.
Yeah.
Is, like, she gets blamed for a lot of deaths, but she's also helping a lot of people move on and move past.
She's just a farrier of souls. Like, that is her thing. And, like, I think that because Cygnus got so close to it, and she not necessarily saw behind the curtain, but kind of, like... thought that she had a hand in it for a moment.
Yeah.
And thought because she had that hand in it for a moment that she would be able to help her friends more.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment where she needed to, she couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And, a big thing about, like, people who are struggling with things, it's like jump with a gun, they're gonna find a reason, like someone to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And in that exact moment, the Raven Queen presented herself
Mm-hmm.
as you aren't giving them back.
Yeah.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And now we know why.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the Raven Queen's fault. Anorian said, I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
which gives so much depth to that story. And if we had 10 more years to play with these characters, like, I would love to kind of, like, pick that out
Mm-hmm.
and, like, really pull it apart and look into it more. Because, like, it's a fascinating dynamic to have within a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that the Raven Queen would not. I hope that's not super loud.
I'm sure they can hear it.
Yeah. Just a dog having a grand old time.
I'll do my best.
But
This is the witching hour.
it is. She's really getting it. I hope that the Raven Queen would not judge the followers of the Accord.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cygnus carried hers.
Sure.
And that is a hope.
I don't think she would, but I'm just wondering.
But it would be interesting.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, how concerned Cygnus is for, like, consequences of her actions.
Exactly. And, like, I think that she feels like the consequences, whatever they might be, will be hers.
Sure.
And hers alone, as it is with leadership positions. If there are consequences, the consequences, more often than not, fall to the leadership.
Sure.
So I think that she's kind of banking on, like, the consequences of my hurt will stay with me, and they will not filter out to you.
Yeah.
And she's done her best to make sure that, like, they are protected from that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I think that she just believes that the consequences will fall on her if they fall on anyone.
Do you have any intentions for Cygnus to reach out any sort of olive branch at this point? Because she left that very spicy and did not have any intentions of any kind thoughts towards the primes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Cygnus is going to reach out any sort of olive branch at this point? Or is she done?
If we have any time, I don't know, because, again, when, like, as the leader of the Accord, like, she is the voice of her people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that voice can be a little bit sharp, and sometimes that voice can be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, she was not kind in Jazz's house
to the primes.
To the primes or Jazz in that regard.
And I think that, like, being face to face with them and kind of feeling the weight of her decisions up to that point, and not wanting to show her belly as, like, you know, like, I've built this, or Victor, and, like, I would never want to implicate Victor, but it's like we built this, and I don't want to put on a people pleaser face for I don't know what the word for that would be, but, like, we're not doing, you know, that, oh, now they're here and I'm afraid because I'm in front of them, and now I'm going to show them my belly because we're in front of them.
Does she think being polite is being weak?
Not. I think that there is a certain level of Lindsay's bulldogishness.
Sure.
That filters through.
Sure.
In certain situations. Because, like, there is a way to be polite but also be very direct.
Sure.
And get your point across.
Sure.
I think that perhaps the situation itself of, like, okay, we're sitting at this table. And, like, I'm trying to say this well. what I'm not trying to say is Cygnus felt like she was holding a card.
Okay.
But maybe it was more of like, you know, we on this table, we are all on even footing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to express my distrust.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, first reaction, not always best reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I was, you know, tempered. And again, like, Cygnus is one of my favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my favorite. 'Cause, like, I've put so much into her story,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's first night back, first night playing Cygnus after not, like, playing her in, like, an official capacity for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have gotten a little bit excited.
Okay.
And that may have come across as, like, a little bit sharper than it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, like, in the moment nerves of, like, I might never get the chance to, like, say this.
To spit in their faces again.
I might not ever get the chance to be, like, to give them just a little middle finger across the table, like, hey guys, like,
Last night to show, bless you, last night with them though,
Yeah.
potentially before you go out and die. And that was it. Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and like, it's one of those things where, like, obviously hindsight's 20/20, and if I could go back and, like, well, first of all, I will be able to watch myself, so, like, I do actually get to hear what I said back to myself, and then, like, run it back over in my head and be like, you could have said it better, this, and this way.
Sure.
Like,
I mean,
you could have,
we all think of other ways that we can say things.
yeah.
But I mean, like, it was surprising that in a room of people that are all trying to obtain the same goal.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Trixie, of course, is choosing this to be the loudest moment ever. We all have the same goal.
We do.
We're all working together.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of being like, set aside our differences,
Mm-hmm.
that just wasn't the way that it came across.
And that, yes.
Felt bad.
Yes.
It felt bad.
Yes. And it was one of those things where, like, as I was saying it, I'm like, you turned the stove up to, like, 15 when you should have been, like, at a 4, and now you've burnt the food. Please stop talking. Please stop talking.
You can keep
You know?
swiping out early if that's okay.
And, like, I caught, because, like, I don't always hear what I'm saying when I'm saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, sometimes that's in a funny, in my mouth or on my back way.
Sure.
And sometimes that's in a, I am being too spicy right now way. And that's a me thing. Like, that's entirely, that's on me. And, like, I could have said it better. And I regret that.
Sure.
But again, this is the story that has been laid in front of us now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and, like, now I have to live with that decision. And I have to live with that, not misspeaking, but, like, live with Lindsay getting a little bit too excited in the heat of the moment and saying some shit. Because, like, boy, oh boy, we get into real life.
Mm-hmm.
Get into real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that, like, that's what happened. But, like, and in that moment, like, I think it's, and again, I'm trying really hard not to run into, like, me saying something
Sure.
that doesn't read correctly.
Sure.
I know the consequences of my own actions, you know? Like, and my own actions ruining my character's life, you know? And, like, that, like, that's what it sums up to, is, like, I'm, you know, kind of tied a brick to the gas pedal and let the car go, you know?
It's never too late.
It's not. And it's like, I think that Cygnus is going to do everything in this fight to see to it that the job that needs to be done is done.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever happens after that happens after that. And like I'm sure that she will always be maybe a little bit not sarcastic
Mhm.
towards the primes,
Mhm.
but maybe that would be like the best word for it. It's
Mhm.
just like not nonchalant.
Sure.
I think would be the best word. That like it's like, oh, like you guys are here at a table at dinner. Does that make sense? I don't know what I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Okay.
if they're, but basically like being like we will get this job done and we will get this job done together for the good of Exandria,
Mm-hmm.
for the good of all of the people of Exandria, and
Mhm.
for the good of my people,
Mm-hmm.
for Cygnus foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
We're gonna get the job done.
Mhm.
It will be done. And whatever happens afterwards, happens afterwards.
We're going to do our best to get the job done.
It's not looking great.
Well, it's still early,
Yeah.
so we'll see. That's for, I think what we're going to do, guys, kind of moving forward. I mean, there's a little bit left. I mean, the last little bit. So after we got Death Ward cast on us, we all went through a teleportation circle. We ended up in a corrupted forest
Mm-hmm.
with like basically gray trees that weren't growing like up. They're like growing like sideways and curved, like almost like melted,
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
Like there was no light to reach towards, so they
Mhm.
just kind of started growing flat.
Yeah. And so it's these corrupted looking trees in this corrupted forest, which is what we expected. And we're surrounded by a massive storm. But basically within like a small circumference around us, the storm has lightened so that we can see. And we basically are trying to get the crawling king's attention. And, but we're trying to get to an advantageous spot before we do that, you know, trying to set up well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get there and there's these creatures that like gray skinned creatures that are looking away from us, and they have this big scar on their back, and it ends up being drooling. And you guys have to be able to hear my dog right now. The scar on the back ends up drooling and opening up and basically just runs away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really know what's happening, but our rangers basically get the sense that these are stalking us. And as we're kind of like wandering around, we're seeing holes in the ground that seem to be part of the tunnel system that we expected from the crawling king. And then right at the end of the session, 4 chains basically lash out around us and wrap around 4 of our ankles. Jazz, Deegan, Victor?
Baru.
Was it Victor?
Was it Mads?
I think it was Mads. I don't remember.
Or was it... No, because it was going to be Fearnan.
It was going to be Fearnan or Rain, and it ended up being Jazz instead.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. But I think it was either Mads or Victor.
Mm-hmm.
And those chains were wrapped around us, and that was how the session ended.
Yep.
So we are halfway through. Well, actually, we have no idea if we're halfway through or what, but we are working on this battle. So we think what we're going to do for kind of upcoming sessions is going to be that once the battle's over, we'll do a recap of it. So we're probably going to do some filler side quests in the middle. So look out for a side quest next time. Not entirely sure what's going to be yet, but we're probably going to do another turning your pet into a D&D character.
Mm-hmm. We've got some in mind.
We do have some in mind, so we're going to try.
We've been specifically requested.
So we're going to try that. And then once we are done with this battle, we'll give you guys a summary, because with 8 players, we did 2.5 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So 12.
I would say 2 1/3 rounds.
Yeah.
We only got to
That's
second
true.
Initiative.
That's true.
Yeah.
So while we could tell you what we did, it would take about 10 minutes. So we're just going to tell you guys everything at once.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. Is there anything else that you wanted to say kind of about our intro to the Heidies? Those were kind of the main points and things I want to talk about.
Yep. That was the session. We're walking in. I think it, pertinent to remind that the letter that was sent to the Twilight's Accord said, have your houses in order.
Yes.
Which alludes to the fact it's you ain't going to be able to come back to the house to put it in order.
And I don't remember who sent that to you.
I think it was Jace.
I think it was.
I'm
Jace.
pretty sure it was Jason Xerxes.
Trixie. Hey. She's like trying to shake the blanket, but we don't chew on blankets.
She's like, I'm trying to snug,
Yeah,
but
I think she's
also
trying to figure out her life. Yes, I do think it was Jace that sent that.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Mm-hmm.
High base for a few sessions, but we'll give you guys one more summary once the battle is over, so we have some idea of what's going on next, and then we'll be back to our C3 characters. So look for some side quests.
And like that could be 2 weeks.
Mhm.
That could be several weeks. I mean, not several weeks, but you know what I mean.
It might be. We don't really know how long our finale is supposed to take.
No, but we are in the final hours of the campaign in game.
Sure, true are. So as always, guys, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And commenting will certainly help our algorithm. Ring the bell if you want to be notified when we upload. Our current schedule is Tuesdays and Fridays around 3 p.m. Eastern, so please look out for those. As always, guys, if you have any questions or anything, ask them down in the comments. Otherwise, just give us a "you're doing a great job" or "your audio sucks." I know, I'm trying. I'm sorry, but just kind of
Jordan's doing her best, and like if it sucks, like you can maybe say it like nicely though, you know.
And joke's on you. It helps the algorithm either way.
You can still say it.
Ah, sucker. I'll respond to it anyway. But yeah, just let us know if you guys have any requests for anything or questions about the campaigns. Side quests, if you want us to turn your pupper or kitty cat into a D&D character, let us know.
Happy to do it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, and we will see you. We'll see you next week regardless.
Oh yeah.
But
It just might be in a slightly different capacity. It's like more lighthearted capacity.
yeah.
With a little kitty cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, bye.
Bye. Don't mind Trixie just trying to put her nose in my mouth.
I know. I was like, with her bouncing the ball around everywhere and trying to nest herself. It is the witching hour.
It is the witching hour. Trixie says, I woke up and I'm going to cause problems on purpose.
Yeah, I'm in my kennel because you guys are driving around all day, so I'm going to cause problems.
She says, now it's time to be wild. And then we just have this beautiful white loaf.
Yeah. Did you smack her when she walked by a few times?
Oh, yeah.
He was like, I have the high ground.
I have the high ground and I'm going to get... He tried to put her back on the couch earlier, too.
Did he?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Like, she was, like, jumping off and he went, hey, and, like, ran at her. And I was like, oh, Lance, so brave.
Chrissy, stop eating things.
Oh, are we still recording? Oh.
Okay, bye.
Bye.